Right now on Face the State, Ohio lawmakers are moving forward on regulating intoxicating hemp. Also, new age limits for buying it just 1 week after the governor's ban was blocked. Why some lawmakers now say this latest move could save children's lives. Plus, the government shutdown hitting home. More Americans are turning to food pantries as SNAP benefits run low. Why pantry leaders say they can't keep up, and whether the state can step in. The hunger for more power, a state crisis fueled by a growing population and the growing high-tech industry. The power grid struggling to keep up. 10 TV's Kevin Landers will join us with what's driving Ohio's power crunch and how lawmakers plan to fix it. Face the State starts right now. Good morning, and thanks so much for joining us for Face the State. I'm Angela Ann, in for Doug Petcash today. We begin with the battle over Ohio's political maps and a critical week ahead. The map process has been drawn out many times, creating confusion in Ohio. After a very short meeting Tuesday that barely made it to 30 minutes, state leaders still do not have an agreement on a bipartisan map. Well, here's Face the State host Doug Petcash earlier in the week, walking us through what happened this time around as both sides face a critical deadline this Friday.
The map we have put forward represents a fair constitutional proposal.
Democrats once again testified in support of the congressional district map they proposed on the right that would create 8 districts that favor Republicans and 7 that favor Democrats. Under the current map on the left, Republicans hold 10 of the state's 15 seats in Congress. So far, Republicans have not proposed a map. Is there any map from Republicans forthcoming?
Well, I think there's discussions ongoing and have been actually for frankly weeks between leadership of the Republican Party and leadership of the Democratic Party. If those discussions start to bear fruit, I think you'll see a map here in this commission. But I think the ball is kind of in the Democrats' court to decide, what deal they are or are not willing to take.
Democrats accuse the Republicans of dragging their feet.
If it's slow walk through the month of October, it leads to November when the Republican majority can just pass a map of their own with only their members voting.
That's not true. We're following the process.
Senate Minority Leader Nikki Antonio suggested Democrats may ask voters to repeal any map Republican lawmakers might pass in November. She says she spoke with U.S. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries about that possibility. Ohio House Minority Leader Dunny Isaacson said there is national enthusiasm for such a referendum in Ohio.
I think people are fired up by the prospect of getting access to fair maps that they deserve.
I mean, obviously that's a consideration when we're deciding, both sides have pros and cons depending which road you want to go down. Seeing no objections, can I get a motion to adjourn?
The commission did not take public comment Tuesday. When the meeting ended after only 28 minutes, many in the audience expressed their displeasure.
Do your job! Represent us! Thank you for nothing.
Now, the commission will hold another meeting within the next few days. Nothing, though, scheduled yet. If the commission does not pass a bipartisan map by Friday, October 31st, the process will go back to the General Assembly, where Republicans could pass a map with no support from the Democrats. Well, now to the fight over intoxicating hemp. First, the governor banned the sale of the products, but then a judge blocked the ban. Now lawmakers are taking matters into their own hands, and this week, the Ohio House passed new age restrictions on intoxicating hemp. So the fight isn't over yet. Governor Mike DeWine has been a strong advocate for regulations on these types of products. He says they come in all forms: gummies, cookies, even drinks. Most House lawmakers siding with the governor by a wide margin, with just 8 voting no on Wednesday. Here's 10 TV's Kristen McFarland on the changes that this new bill is calling for.
Now, the bill includes similar language to marijuana laws with age limits, licensing requirements, and strict regulation. Many Ohio lawmakers have cited concerns that intoxicating hemp products are getting into the hands of children. Intoxicating hemp products like edibles, gummies, and other consumables with Delta-8 can often be found at vape shops and some gas stations. Governor Mike DeWine has been a strong opponent of intoxicating hemp and tried to ban sales of it earlier this month. But that ban is blocked right now in the courts. Some lawmakers are urging immediate action, while others say this bill is not ready and still needs work.
This bill wisely balances between Ohioans' individual liberties, their safety, the financial well-being of our local communities, and the need to protect the health and safety of Ohio's children.
I've heard from 5 businesses in my district. And SB 56 effectively kills large swaths of Ohio's hemp industry, which began in the 2018 Farm Bill.
The bill will now head back to the Senate. Reporting from the State House, Kristen McFarland, 10 TV News.
Kristen, thank you. Now, while hemp and marijuana are both cannabis plants, hemp does not have the same effects on users. According to the Ohio Department of Agriculture, hemp is not as intoxicating. The main reason why is the different levels of THC. Federal regulations state that in order to be considered hemp, the cannabis must have less than 0.3% THC. Marijuana, on the other hand, often has THC levels over 10%. Now, there are a variety of hemp products that are not meant to be ingested, which include cosmetics, clothing, and even things like fuel and paint. Well, 2 bills at the State House could save you money on property taxes. The Ohio House passed both this week, and now they're headed to the Senate. So let's give you a closer look at those bills moving through the State House right now. House Bill 186 would limit how much school district property taxes can go up each year, keeping those increases in line with inflation. There's House Bill 335. That would put a cap on what's called inside millage. That is property tax that can be collected without a vote. Supporters say these changes will save Ohioans real money, but some school districts worry it could cut into their funding.
This amendment will cost $1.7 billion with a B per year, and we are expected to vote on this with less than an hour and a half notice when we have a finance committee convened to discuss these type of matters.
No taxpayer should have a tax increase above the rate of inflation that they haven't voted for. Period.
We have to provide the property taxpayers relief.
Both bills now head to the Ohio Senate for consideration. Now, Ohio lawmakers passed a bill that would help offset a rise in energy costs. It's House Bill 15, and this will remove subsidies and give Ohio energy developers quite a boost. 10 TV reporter Kevin Landers takes a closer look.
Ohio is hungry for more power.
And what we see is it's an affordability crisis.
A crisis fueled by a growing population and a growing high-tech industry.
AEP is forecasting a 50% load growth by 2030.
But there's a problem. Electric rates are on the rise, a 3% increase statewide since May, or $27 a month in the AEP territory.
Prices are one of the biggest concerns we hear.
And that concern is growing louder as the state attracts more energy consumers like data centers and their growing use of artificial intelligence.
When you see demand increase and you don't see supply correspondingly increase, any economist will tell you that's a recipe for increases in price.
Ohioans are paying more for power in part because of a limited supply of energy producers and high demand. Consumers can shop for power, but there are issues there.
I've talked to consumers who are paying 2 or 3 times more than the standard offer for their electricity because they signed up with someone who knocked on their door and they just let it ride.
And everyone else?
What does your crystal ball tell you?
The crystal ball, and I think a lot of the experts are saying we're going to be in for some high, in the short term for some high pricing.
To shield consumers from higher energy costs requires more supply.
So are you saying we need more power plants in Ohio?
If those forecasts are correct, we're going to need more power plants.
But can our electrical grid handle it?
The grid operators were not ready for a sharp increase.
OSU Associate Professor Noah Dormandy is an energy policy expert. He says your electric bill is impacted not only by consumption.
I'm talking about the auctions that set the retail price. That I see as the biggest frontier of problems for that markup that you're describing.
His research looked at millions of pages of documents over 10 years to see who is showing up to bid for the retail market.
When we see in these procurement auctions only 5 bidders show up in some of these auctions, when in other auctions we see 15 bidders, we have a fundamental problem.
Translation, the fewer bidders, the higher, he says, the cost of power.
When we're seeing prices on the wholesale market go from $20-something to over $300 per megawatt day in our capacity markets, energy efficiency is only going to go so far.
Help is on the way. In May of this year, Governor Mike DeWine signed into law House Bill 15, which reformed the state's energy policy. One thing it did was eliminate the $1.50 subsidy for coal plants.
When those power plants lose money, those utility companies will pass those costs on to us to recover the lost revenue of those power plants.
The other thing HB 15 does is encourage in-state energy development.
If you get more supply, especially if you get more supply in Ohio, that's going to help with bills in the long run.
While turning the thermostat down a few degrees or using energy-efficient light bulbs can reduce your energy costs, market forces are also driving up costs and profits. As for consumers, experts say take control of what you can control.
Pay attention to your bill. Look at your bill every month so you can see what's happening.
So joining me now in studio is 10 TV's Kevin Landers, and thank you so much for shedding light on this bill. You talked a lot about electricity in your story, but AEP right now has a case before PUCO that could really impact this bill going forward.
Yeah, so AEP has a rate case that would take effect next year, and if the Public Utilities Commission passes it, it would raise bills by about $3.20 a month, which is about a 2% increase. But that will take effect next year if it's approved.
Okay, so we'll keep our eyes on that. And it's not just electricity costs that I think that we all see that's rising. So much seems to be going up. We're also talking natural gas prices. Those are on the rise too?
Natural gas prices are on the rise. Some people in Ohio have seen their bills go up by about 40%. What's the cause of that? Well, it costs more to generate that power. It takes more to transmit that power. Those all build into the natural gas costs, and those are likely to increase as well. So people are going to hit by electricity and also natural gas in the future. The good news, lawmakers believe, is that House Bill 15 will in the future help reduce energy costs in the state. That's going to take some time, they believe, but they believe that's a good first step, and we'll have to see, and we'll be watching that as it progresses.
I feel like we need to have this situation or a solution set up now, because we are seeing more data centers coming in, using more electricity, and that's stuff that's going to be shared by everyone, no matter at the end of the day.
Right, and I think that's where energy companies are looking at. They were not prepared to see this explosion of data centers, right? And that amount of energy that data centers use, the amount of AI that's being used, all that has to be passed through the grid, which is old and everyone knows it needs repaired. So the cost of the grid repairs and the cost to transmit that energy all is adding to our bills. And what we really need in the state is more generation power, and those take time to build. Yeah. That's another thing Ohio's going to have to deal with.
And look at different resources. All right, yep. Kevin Landers, thank you so much. Appreciate it. So to come here on Face the State, millions of dollars in campaign finance penalties left unpaid. And the state agency in charge admits it has not kept up. 10 Investigates digs into how it happened and what that means for accountability in Ohio politics. Also, 7 Head Start programs across Ohio could close next month if federal funding is not approved. How this delay is affecting families and when officials say the money could eventually arrive. As the government shutdown stretches on, several local programs are being impacted. Some families are in limbo as lawmakers continue this stalemate. And right now in Central Ohio, more than 300,000 people rely on SNAP benefits for food. 10 TV's Tara Jabor finds out what's being done to help families who fear they won't receive their benefits next month.
The director here at Broad Street Food Pantry says if SNAP benefits run out, they know that more people will come here for food. But she says she's not sure if they'll be able to keep up with that demand. Every weekday morning, Broad Street Food Pantry is packed with people picking up free groceries.
Since August, the need has gone up. But it's just remained up.
They serve about 300 families a week, but lately it's been harder to feed those families. The food pantry is receiving less from Mid-Ohio Food Collective because of budget cuts, so they have had to find other ways to get food.
We've also been looking to try to find some wholesalers, people that we can purchase from, but their prices are higher, so then it means we're probably purchasing less.
Kelly Long says the federal government shutdown has been top of mind. She worries families won't get their SNAP benefits, which will send more people to food pantries.
SNAP benefits, people get an average of like $190 a month per person. There's no way food pantries can make up that difference, and people don't have any place else to turn.
So what is the solution? State Representative Latina Humphrey thinks the state should step up. She introduced House Bill 502 that would have the state pay for SNAP benefits.
That with my bill, we can cover the monthly cost of SNAP, of TANF, of WIC through the rainy day fund. When the government opens back up, we would put that money back.
Representative Humphrey says there is $4 billion in the rainy day fund, and she doesn't want to see Ohio families go hungry.
But this is clearly a rainy day, and we need to do something about this.
And right now, that House bill is still in committee. Reporting in downtown Columbus, Tara Jabor, 10 TV News.
Tara, thank you. Now, another program impacted by the shutdown is Head Start. It provides education, childcare, food, health services, and many other needs to low-income children from the birth to age 5. Head Start is free to families, but these programs get most of their funding through federal grants. 10 TV's Catherine Simon visited one program that may be forced to close.
Coshocton County Head Start serves 140 kids. It's one of the 7 Head Start programs across the state that could close next month because of a lack of federal funds.
This is going to have a huge ripple effect for the children, the children's families, staff, and our community.
Head Start is a big part of Amber Manbeck's world. She works at Coshocton County Head Start, and her daughter goes there too.
I have a 4-year-old. She is enrolled in Miss Bree and Miss Megan's room right now, so I'm a prime example of I'm going to lose employment, I'm going to lose childcare, and it's my school family.
In Ohio, 7 Head Start programs grant years begin November 1st, according to the Ohio Head Start Association. If the shutdown continues and those programs aren't able to get their money, they could close, meaning families would have to find other childcare and staff would be out of work.
A lot of us will be looking at collecting unemployment.
Coshocton County Head Start Executive Director Susan Craddock says all of their roughly $3 million annual budget comes from federal grants. When their grant year ends October 31st, she says they won't have access to any more funds unless the federal government can approve something by then.
The parents know that if we do not get our notice of award, that we will have to shut the doors. So we're preparing right now to get learning materials together for our families.
The potential loss of care is concerning for parents like Kayla Ray, who works 2 jobs while her 3-year-old daughter goes to Head Start.
We really just don't have any other options. I don't have the money to send her to another place.
According to the Ohio Head Start Association, the 7 programs across the state that could soon face closure serve more than 3,700 kids and employ 940 people. Federal officials say some grants are delayed because of the shutdown, but programs that already received funding aren't affected.
So it is scary. It's scary to our staff and our families.
Right now, I'm just have that hope that it will be okay.
Coshocton County Head Start says some support from the community could help keep the doors open a little longer, but ultimately they need that federal funding to stay running. Reporting in Coshocton County, Catherine Simon, 10 TV News.
Catherine, thank you. Now, Governor Mike DeWine spoke about his concerns on the impact this shutdown is having on young families. He and First Lady Fran DeWine spoke in support of the statewide policy and advocacy organization Groundwork Ohio. It works to give resources to young children and their families.
We're certainly concerned, about SNAP. We're concerned about WIC, and these are 2 programs that, supply help to people in the state of Ohio. The WIC program, of course, is directed at moms and their babies, and so, yeah, we're concerned about that.
The governor making those comments to us as he and the First Lady were given the Believe in Every Child Award. It recognizes the couple's commitment to the health, education, and well-being of Ohio children and families. Well, in just 2 minutes, an exclusive 10 Investigates report. Ohio's campaign watchdog has struggled to collect nearly $96 million in unpaid fines from candidates and committees. Why it's gone on for years and what's being done now to fix it. Welcome back. The Ohio Election Commission will soon become the Ohio Election Integrity Commission. State leaders say that one word will better help those elected to enforce election law. 10 TV's Rochelle Aline explains what drove this decision and what the new commission hopes to get right.
Very good. We have a motion and second. All in favor?
For the Ohio Elections Commission, or OEC,
I would like to know what I did wrong and what I can do to fix it.
this is the work, making sure candidates and political groups are transparent about their money.
The question is, where do I pay my fine?
And collecting fines when they're not. It's work they've been doing since 1974. But their efforts have recently been heavily criticized by state lawmakers who say they're not collecting enough. Data from the OEC shows candidates owe about $96 million in outstanding fees, and $6 million of that is connected to Central Ohio. We took that number directly to the commission's longtime executive director, who told us the OEC doesn't have the power to make anyone pay.
If we don't get a payment from someone, we're obligated to send it along to the Attorney General's office for collection. And we do that. We do that on a fairly regular basis.
Citing that backlog, this past budget session, lawmakers decided to pull funding for the commission. And on January 1st, they'll launch a new 5-member Ohio Elections Integrity Commission under the Secretary of State's office. We sat down with the outgoing OEC vice chair.
Was that the right call? It was absolutely not the right call, and I've said this in multiple interviews before, and I'll continue to say it.
She says the OEC needed more teeth and staff to do its job effectively, but she worries that decisions by the new bipartisan commission could become politically skewed.
It leads me to question, will it really be balanced and fair?
We're going to show people.
We took that question directly to Secretary of State Frank LaRose.
It's going to have the bipartisanship that it needs. It's also going to have the accountability of the buck stops here, and that's how it should be.
LaRose told us his office has already made a hire for the commission.
We found a gentleman named Jim Wernicke, a longtime investigator and a public safety professional with law enforcement background with the State Highway Patrol.
The other 4 commission members will be chosen by State House and Senate leaders of both major parties. And once they're up and running, LaRose tells us the commission's first goal will be to figure out how to get those outstanding fines paid.
We need to begin the collection actions, get court orders so that you can garnish wages, put liens on properties, turn them over to collection agencies and that kind of thing, and really start to make sure that those fines are enforced.
Well, Rochelle joins us now on Face the State to talk more about this. Rochelle, such an interesting story. I have a lot of questions, and I'm sure you still do, but let's start with this. The million-dollar question about this is the $96 million really at the center of this story. That money, it's so important. Why is it, especially to the new commission?
So, I mean, it's twofold, right? One, it's about integrity. If you violate campaign finance law, they want you to pay the money, right? But secondly, it's also connected to the budget. So the budget for the outgoing commission was $600,000. The budget for this new commission, $200,000. That's a really big gap. So they literally need to recoup this money to help fund the work they're going to do.
Interesting. What about any other issues that the outgoing commission maybe ran into that this new one is saying, okay, we've got to fix this right away?
Communication, huge, right? So this investigation was actually done in partnership with our sister stations in Cleveland and Toledo. They found some interesting things. They either found candidates or political groups that didn't know that they had notices and they owed money to this outgoing commission because nobody told them, or they were mailed finance notices that never got to them. On the other end of things, we found that people thought they had paid up their notices. They had paid up their fines and they thought everything was in the clear, but that communication never made it up to the state, to this OEC commission. Wow. And so that led to a lot of communication issues. So I asked the Secretary of State, how do you plan to address these communication issues? He said, yes, the mailing is a problem and they're going to work on making sure that people's addresses are correct and on file. But he wants to also launch an online dashboard that anybody can log on to a website, whether they are a candidate or just a regular constituent, to log on and see who owes what and who has paid what. We don't know when they're going to launch that dashboard, but that's his idea for hoping to fix that issue.
But that's going to take some budget money to do that as well. So, correct. And you said their budget is only now $200,000.
And I asked, to build off of that, I asked him about that, right? Right. So you have to get this money back to fund the work you do and hopefully build that website. What happens if it takes a long time? He felt confident in the moment. He said, we're going to try our best, right? Yeah. But he told me that, if it comes down to it, he'll actually go back to state lawmakers and ask for a bit more money to help at least get them off the ground.
Right. Chicken or the egg, which is going to come first?
We'll
right?
see.
We'll see. You also had a chance to speak with the outgoing leaders. What final thoughts do they have? I mean, are they still scratching their heads a little bit about what was really the need to create this brand new commission by changing one word?
And that was a question that we really never got answered. I mean, that was a question that we were asked by the outgoing executive director, by the outgoing vice chair. A few different people asked us that question, and we never really got a final consensus on why we did, they did that. But I will say this: I asked the outgoing executive director, "Do you have any advice for this incoming commission?" He's been there for almost 30 years. He actually was their first hire when they started the OEC back in 1974. So he's seen it all.
Sure.
I asked him, "What advice do you have for these new folks coming in to do this work?" He said, "Be prepared for criticism." He said, even with all these changes, even if you get the money back, this is work that doesn't happen without critique, so be prepared for criticism. I asked that same question to the outgoing vice chair that you also saw in our story. Right. Her big concern was about bias. So right now the OEC operates independently of any kind of state body. This new commission would operate under the Secretary of State's office. Her concern was because the person who runs that office is attached to a political party. She was worried about potential political bias, and so she said they have to be really focused on making sure no political bias kind of trickles down into their work.
That's always the tough one
Yes.
to get over. Rochelle, thank you so much. And I know you mentioned that this is a deep dive with some of our other partner stations around the state. Ballot box debt, it doesn't end here. We did partner with our other stations to launch the Ohio Investigate series about elections in Ohio. You can see that streaming on demand right now here on 10 TV Plus. Rochelle, thank you again. Well, thank you for joining me for Face the State this week. I'm Angela Ann, and we'll see you again next Sunday at 11:30.